you do that. What are some other common mistakes that you see other YouTubers make that you work with?
Yeah, it's so most of my client work is with 1 million plus and 10 million plus channels. So there is like a very different type of mistake those channels make. So for smaller channels, I would say anyone under like sort of 500k, and I'm putting myself in that category as well. But like it's very very niche dependent. So like 100k subscribers could be a huge channel in certain niches and a really small channel in other niches. Like if you're a Minecraft channel, you've got 100k subscribers, you're not really even scratching the surface over how big that niche is. But if you make like woodworking tutorials and you've got 100k subscribers, you're probably one of the biggest channels in the world in your niche. So it's very niche specific. But what I see with the smaller channels, the kind of, let's say, beginner and middle class YouTubers, like people kind of on their way but not at the top level, it's usually that splitting audience thing. That's one primary things that I see, and also like formats as well. So like one day they do a reaction video, one day they do a challenge, one day they do a really long kind of explainer video. All these different formats. I always just come in and say, what is your, like, what do you want to be known for? What's the kind of content you want to build your channel around? And I do use myself as an example where every video on my channel is 10 minutes, or maybe some go to 11, but like 10, 11 minutes. Every video is on the same sort of theme. Every video follows a very similar format. Some people say to me, is that all repetitive? And it is a little bit repetitive to make, but it's not repetitive to the audience because I'm only posting once a month. So obviously it depends. Like if you're making the same video 4 times a week, it might get repetitive. So that's the kind of context you need there. So I would say that's a big thing, format and splitting the audience too much. And then just like poor retention strategy. So really bad intros, things like, hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you didn't know me, I'm this, like introducing themselves. I always talk about the best intros hit you with action as quickly as possible. And some people say, well, there's no action in the education niche. Well, the action in the education niche is just education then, like the value proposition. You can replace action with value proposition instead of context. So a lot of people front load the video with way too much context where they go, let's say if it was my video and I front loaded it with too much context, I would start the video by saying, hey guys, welcome back. If you don't know me already, I'm, Paddy Galloway. I'm one of the top YouTube consultants. And today we're going to look at Mr. Beast. And I'm going to show you some of the really interesting things he does. We're going to learn a lot in this video. And there's going to be 4 main parts to it. And, all this sort of like nonsense context.
So what do you do instead?
So what you do instead is you really focus on getting into the action story as quickly as possible. So, for example, the intro style of context. What if you replace that by one line of context, so like one sentence to describe the start of the video, and then actually get into the information. Now, people hate that because they're like, how do I introduce myself? How do they know me? But if I just set that kind of rule, let's do 10 seconds of explanation and then straight into it, or even 5 seconds of explanation, get straight into it. You'll get creative of finding ways to like give that context without making it boring. So you'll actually, in my case, I'm still giving context on a YouTuber. Like I say stuff like, so how did he grow from, 1 to 10 million in 1 year? That is context in a way, but it's still story. It's still interest. Instead of saying like, in this video, I'm going to show you how he grew from this to this. It's like, how did he do this? Obviously, if you hear that as a viewer, we're going to talk about how he did that. So you don't need to explicitly tell you. So I would just focus on shorter intros, jumping into the content a lot quicker, and also not having so much separation. So a lot of people do this thing like where it's, today we're going to cover this, and it's going to be really cool. You should watch to the end. Let's get straight into it. And then like this pause, and then they get into the rest of the video. The best intros don't feel like intros. They just flow together. If you watch my videos from like 3 years ago, you'll see I do like, today we're going to look at how Peter McKinnon grew his YouTube channel. Welcome to another episode of YouTube Masterclass. And then pause and then go into it. If you look at my videos over the last 2 years, I primarily, just don't give this almost like bookmarked or like stop.
So there's just one
in
flow.
The intro. It just flows, and you can't really pinpoint when the intro ended. The video just goes. I think that they're the best intros. So for channels that size, that's the primary concern. And then for channels, for like 1 million, 10 million plus channels, I just boil it down to where the main results are. So title, thumbnail, intro, topic, like those like areas, if you can just make better decisions in those areas, you'd be amazed at how different results can be, which is it's a beautiful thing, because you can like make so many right decisions in other areas of business and still not get results because of external factors. But on YouTube, if you just make better thumbnails, better titles on better topics with better intros, I know it sounds easy to say, but if you really focus on those areas, the results are incredible. Like, you know, there's a guy on Twitter I just messaged or just replied to yesterday who's called Quabblecop, and he's a big
the biggest Dutch YouTuber.
Yeah, he's huge, and we had a few chats on DMs before as well. And he posted something where he was like, you know, I've been kind of slipping with my content a little bit. I think he got like 20 million views or 25 million views in the last 30 days. I mean, that sounds nice to be slipping, and you're getting 25 million views in the last 30 days. But he was like, check back on my channel in like, you know, a month or 2 months and see, because I know what to do. And in his case, for the next month, I would just assume he's going to just really focus on his audience, focus on making very specific videos and really putting more effort and title and thumbnails than he currently is. And I would be willing to bet that in 2 months' time, he'll be at 50 million views a month again, or maybe even more, or maybe a little less. But like he's definitely going to improve and get his views back up there. So for channels of that size, it usually is just making better decisions. It's critique. Like I quite often, it's funny because some people would have imposter syndrome because a lot of these channels obviously have much bigger view counts than I do. But I've no problem getting on a call with Eric and saying, Eric, his name is Eric. I say, Eric, what are you doing with this idea? This is the worst thumbnail I've ever seen. This is terribly paced. Do this instead. Change this. And the thing about kind of being an imposter syndrome or whatever is, if what I was saying didn't work, you know, I wouldn't have a business. But even in Eric's case, like I worked with Eric and I just roasted him for like an hour straight. And he was even like, Paddy, like you're hurting my feelings, but I love this. And then afterwards, like the next 2 or 3 months on his channel, not that it was just me, because obviously I just like help people with a few things and they do most of the rest themselves. But I just gave him some pointers, and I'm sure he got pointers from other people as well. And like he really turned his channel around, because he was actually in a little bit of a dip at the start of the year, and now I would describe as one of the hottest entertainment channels in the US right now. Like he's getting big viewership. So yeah, it's usually about being very honest, roasting it, and always thinking about, is this the best thumbnail we could have made? Surely there's a more interesting way we could have framed this video.